Hello and welcome to Tuesday Newsday, your #1 resource for the entire week's worth of VR news. Sorry about no Tuesday Newsday last week. There was a bit of shortage of big things that happened, except for leaks on the new Oculus headset, which I made a standalone video on that I'll reference a few times today. But there have been some far bigger leaks regarding that new Oculus headset that I'll cover today. That means there's essentially 2 weeks worth of news here in this video. This is going to be an action-packed episode. Buckle up because we're about to get right into the news. Let's start off with the thing that's on everyone's mind, the new Oculus headset that we got leaks of last week. And by the way, spoiler warning, it's real. No longer just leaks. I mean, I guess these are leaks too, but it's a real leak. And I have some pretty good news about it if you're worried about IPD adjustment, and we may even have a date for it. But first, some background. Twitter user Walking Cat started off the hype train with a leaked press render, one that looks an awful lot like the renders made for the previous Oculus headsets, like the Rift S and the Quest. It just so happens that these leaks were made around the same time that a Japanese Business Insider's website said that Oculus had started production of a brand new VR headset and that they were producing 2 million headsets to be sold. To give you an idea of how many headsets that is, it's estimated that the Oculus Quest itself has barely sold over 1 million units. And that's since its launch last year in March. The leaked renders clearly show what looks like an Oculus Quest, but white with new controllers that look a lot more like the original touch controllers from the Oculus Rift, and to my huge disappointment, no IPD slider. In case you're wondering why that's a disappointment from me, well, most VR headsets have what's called an IPD adjustment slider to match the lenses to the widely varying distances on human eyes. If this distance between the eyes is not matched on the headset, then you'll end up with a blurry image and you'll likely get motion sick. Last week, I compared it to playing a football match with the wrong prescription glasses on. Well, this headset looked to not have one, which is an issue because the last VR headset Oculus made that didn't have an IPD slider only fit around 50% of all humans. If you weren't in this small range, then the headset was just not compatible for you. And the reason for no IPD adjustment is that this headset would be cheaper to manufacture. It's likely that this new Oculus headset is built to be manufactured and sold as cheap as possible. So that means cutting down on things that were previously expensive, like the IPD adjustment slider, the 2 displays used in the headset that have adjustable IPD, and a material change, to instead have a single display fixed IPD headset that could be sold for quite a bit cheaper. But then came more leaks, and a lot of them. It's now confirmed that this whole headset is real. This is an actual device that is out there somewhere in a Facebook lab somewhere and is likely being mass-produced right now. Here are the real pictures of the headsets. All of the logos and serial numbers have been covered up though, likely to cover the identity of the leaker. So far, what we can confirm is that the new controllers are almost identical to the original touch controllers, having a much rounder face and an additional capacitive sensor on the controller compared to the set sold with the Quest and Rift S. Also, the head strap is not more sturdy like I originally thought. Instead, it's a lot more like an Oculus Go, and this is what seems to be an elastic head strap. Now, I'm not too happy about that. I was hoping for a headset to be a little more comfortable than the original Quest, but supposedly it's going to be lighter and smaller than the current Quest, so maybe elastic will do the job just fine. Plus, it is cheaper to manufacture than almost any material head strap, which helps towards Facebook's goal of making a cheap headset. Now, in case you were worried about the IPD adjustment just as I was, these leaks show the headset from practically every angle, and there's no slider to be seen. Not on the top, sides, or bottom like we're used to. But looking in the headset shows something really interesting. 3 things right off the bat. It's hollow, the lenses are likely different, and there's some sort of switch adjustment that clearly shows a number 2 here. Now, I'll touch on the first 2 things in a second, but first, let's talk about this switch. This could very well be the solution that Oculus was looking for a cheap manual IPD adjustment. There are 2 settings and flipping this switch adjusts the IPD from 2 presets to cover a far wider range of people than the totally fixed IPD of the Rift S and Oculus Go. Of course, that's not confirmed by any stretch of the imagination. That's me looking at it and an educated guess. But it seems pretty likely that that's what this switch is here for. And this could solve a lot of the problems that I initially had with the idea of a headset made for mass audiences that's cheap that didn't have any sort of adjustment. Because what's the point of selling a cheap headset for everyone to buy if only half of people can even use it? Well, like I said, having this sort of adjustment for IPD could fix that. The other thing is the headset is hollow, meaning there's no fabric that you normally have on the inside of VR headsets. No problem for me though. Having no fabric there makes the headset cheaper to make, but also allows you to change the switch, so it works out. And finally, the lenses don't appear to be the same lenses as the Oculus Quest. In case you don't know, Oculus has used the same exact lens design for the Quest, Rift S, and Go. These appear to be similarly shaped, but slightly larger with a different design overall, which could change needing an IPD adjustment as well. So you might be excited about this new headset just as I am. And now you're asking when? Well, we may have a date as well. September 15th was posted alongside one of these leaked photos by the Walking Cat, and it's pretty safe to assume that something will be announced on that date by Oculus. I'm guessing that's when this headset will be officially announced. Ironically, that's also the date that HP gave regarding the release of the HP Reverb G2. The VR industry is definitely no stranger though to having competing release dates with announcement dates though. Last year, if you remember, the Valve Index was practically announced during F8, where the Quest and Rift S were formally announced for pre-order. Really, it just makes everyone question their spending decisions. So far, there has been a ton of speculation as to what this headset actually is, and in my opinion, it's a Quest Lite. That being a headset that has been built lighter and cheaper than the current Quest, that is capable of everything a Quest is, just like how the Quest will be capable of everything that this new headset will be. But it is made cheaper and sold for a cheaper price as well. And here's where the super speculation comes in. I think that this headset is not only a replacement to the Quest, but also a replacement to the Go, a 3DoF headset made by Oculus that was recently discontinued. I mean, the resemblance is uncanny. But here's where things get crazy. Hand tracking is already a thing on the Quest. Oculus could sell this new headset, the Quest Lite, in 2 packages. One with controllers for the full price, say $399 or $350, or maybe even cheaper, and also sell a package for $250 or so without controllers that is essentially a 6 Degree of Freedom Oculus Go that uses hand tracking as its main controller. Has access to a few games like we already see on the Quest with hand tracking, but excels as a media and social VR headset, which is what the Go was good at. And the controllers will be sold separately if you want, as the controllers are said to be compatible with the current Rift S and Quest. If I was a betting man, I'd put my money on that hypothesis, but I guess we'll find out on September 15th. I still hope that Oculus has another headset coming for a higher end experience, and that's still very possible, but there's been literally no leaks or information that that's true, like at all. I will say though, if you're in the market to buy a VR headset right now, you might want to wait a couple weeks, because between the Reverb G2 coming in its entirety, this new headset that we still don't know the specs of, and whatever else Oculus has up their sleeves, I'd say it's a smart move to wait on a purchase until the end of September. Unless you're a Valve Index kind of person, then go ahead and buy your Index. I also want to point out real quick that if this controller-less headset is actually a thing and it's sold, without controllers, then hand tracking apps and games for the Quest are gonna go through the roof. So if you like that sort of thing, this is great news for you actually. But now it's time for a meme break! So I don't think I've seen so many things go wrong in the same place. This is a post in the What Could Go Wrong subreddit. Imagine you're taking your Oculus Quest out in a nice field. You technically have an unlimited play space to play games. You're not gonna run into anything until something runs into you and a horse comes in and ruins your day by barreling straight into you. Look, PSA, horses don't like VR. Maybe Oculus should add horse alerts for their headsets. You never know when one might be trying to ruin your virtual reality. But now, back to the news. So there have been many different techniques of haptic feedback gloves over the years, from vibration motors to literally getting shocked, but this one is new for me. The Swiss Federal Institute of Technology has developed a new oil-filled glove for VR applications, and the company making them has stated that these new designs could very well lead to VR gloves that are thinner, cheaper, and easier to manufacture for consumer use. The way it works is by small electrical signals stimulating a dielectric fluid, and for now, that's vegetable oil. These electrical stimulations provide vibrations, depth, and pressure that can be manipulated by software to trigger whenever you, for example, grab or hold an object in VR. As of now, these fluid-filled devices only work for small sizes, but in the future, the company is looking to make a full glove-size version that would be easier and cheaper to manufacture than many of the solutions that we have today. As of now, VR gloves are typically big, heavy, and expensive, pretty much limiting them to commercial use only. But with breakthroughs like this, the future of controller-free VR setups gets closer and closer. And now on to some gaming news. Vertigo Remastered has recently released, and in case you don't know about this game, it's one of the original VR games that was actually good. I mean, back in 2017, there weren't many good VR games, but Vertigo was one of them, made by a single 16-year-old kid that now works for Valve. Well, the entire game has been remastered, and I gotta say, it's fantastic. Like, for me, up there with Boneworks and Half-Life Alyx. I recommend checking it out. The entire game has been revamped from visuals to mechanics and UI, and it's really great. Give it a go. I'd also like to say that it's a great VR game for VR newcomers as well if you're looking for something good like Boneworks but won't make you sick, because I know I get that complaint. I also have some sad news to report. You may have heard of a game called Blast World, a free-to-play VR shooter that, while it had some bugs and lacked some polish to really make it stand out, was still a pretty fun free-to-play VR game. And that company has turned off the lights and shut its game down. The game will soon be going offline, as the developers have said to me they just flat out ran out of money. While I don't understand why the game has to go offline, I mean, it's already made, but I guess the servers just became too much to handle. However, the developers have said that they will come back in the future once their financial situation has improved. I never like to see a developer have to cancel a project, especially for financial reasons, but I hope that things improve for a second entry from this dev team. But now it's time for question of the week from Flamecaster. What did it feel like when you experienced VR for the first time? Well, when I experienced VR for the first time, not counting arcade machines from the early 2000s, it was a roller coaster. Like, actually a roller coaster sim on essentially a 3DOF DK2. Not exactly the best experience, but I was more excited about the potential that I could see in VR, not about what I actually experienced. And now, just 5 or 6 years later, I'm here punching aliens and headcrabs in VR. Well, not actually punching, since there's no melee in Half-Life Alyx. But still, I like to think that while my first experience wasn't great or super inspiring, or I didn't have this out-of-body experience, I'm glad that I grew a massive passion for VR from something pretty awful. It was all about what I could see, not what I was actually seeing at the time. Make sure to leave your own question of the week below. I may just answer yours next. I am streaming today pretty much right after this video, so stop on by and say what's up, and we'll talk a little VR while I'm in VR. Also, join up in my Discord server. I talk all about VR all the time, and you get a front row seat to some of the most cutting-edge VR stories before I can even make a video about it. I want to thank all of my Patreon supporters, especially my Omegas like Benji, Very Evil Shadow, Fusion Oak, Jake, Crossalon, Zimph, Ronzarelli, Snowman VR, Studio Form VR, Tristan, True Killa, VR Ambassador, and VR Balance. I literally couldn't be doing any of this without you. Don't forget to like this video if you loved it, subscribe if you want more of this, and hit that freaking bell if you just can't live without it. Much love, Thrill out.